Hey guys, tonight we step barefoot into the heart of a lush Mayan jungle, where the trees glisten with fresh rainfall and the air hums with secrets. You're here to witness a ritual older than history books, a rite whispered through centuries of thunderclouds and droughts alike. The midnight rain taps a sleepy rhythm on giant saber leaves, and somewhere in the dark, someone begins to hum. It smells like wet stone and blooming orchids, thick and earthy, as if the whole jungle just exhaled. You brush aside a low branch, slippery with dew, and spot a clearing up ahead. At its center stands a ring of stones, each one carved with symbols that seem to pulse in the firelight. Smoke coils lazily toward the canopy. The downpour isn't heavy, but steady, nature's white noise machine. It's beautiful. It's eerie. And, you probably won't survive this if you forget mosquito repellent. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, I'd love to know, where are you listening from, and what time is it where you are? Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You trudge carefully across the clearing, the damp earth squishing softly underfoot. The moon is out, high and pale, casting silvery puddles of light between rustling branches. It's not cold, but the kind of cool that makes you grateful for a shawl, or at least a dry t-shirt. All around you, frogs croak and insects chirp, but their symphony has a rhythm. As if even the bugs here know that something sacred is about to happen. There are no signs, no arrows pointing ritual this way, but your feet seem to know. You follow the smell of copal smoke, a kind of spicy, citrusy incense that clings to the air like memory. It grows stronger the farther you walk. And then you see them, figures kneeling by the fire, their faces calm, as if they've done this 1,000 times before. This rain ritual isn't just spiritual, it's practical. Mayan farmers depended on it to summon Chak, the rain god, especially when drought threatened the maize harvest. But historians still argue whether these rituals truly influenced weather, or if they were more about community hope than meteorology. Either way, you're here now. And no one's asking for a forecast. The rain picks up slightly, soft drumming on the canopy above. You pause at the edge of the ritual circle. No one tells you to stay back. No one says a word. But you feel it in your gut, this is a listening place, not a speaking one. Then it happens. A roll of thunder, low and lazy, rumbles in the distance. It's not a threat, just a sound, like the earth clearing its throat. And under that growl, beneath the frogs and the rain and the heartbeat of the jungle, you begin to hear something else. The whisper of the ritual beginning. A figure steps forward from the smoke, his bare feet splashing softly in the shallow puddles. He's old, not hunched, but seasoned, like driftwood polished smooth by time. His robe is simple, woven from thick cotton, the edges embroidered with curling blue symbols that shimmer slightly in the firelight. He carries no staff, no headdress, just a small bowl of dark liquid cupped in both hands. You realize this is the shaman, the rainkeeper of this village. He doesn't introduce himself. Instead, he meets your eyes, nods once, and gestures for you to follow. No words, just a look that says, "Come quietly, listen more than you speak." His path winds past stone carvings half swallowed by moss. Some look like frogs, others like crocodiles with human eyes. The old man pauses briefly to pour a splash of his offering onto the earth. The rain seems to hiss in response, as if acknowledging the gift. You almost expect the trees to bow. As you follow him, you hear your own breath join the jungle's, slow and steady. Every sense is sharpened. The air smells rich and green, like crushed leaves and rain-soaked roots. A moth the size of your palm flutters past your cheek. Somewhere far away, a howler monkey lets out a lazy yawn of a roar. It feels less like walking through a forest and more like stepping into a story you've somehow always known. The shaman reaches a small altar, a wide stone slab, worn smooth in the middle, surrounded by tall stakes draped with red and yellow cloth. Tiny clay figurines are lined neatly along the edges: frogs, fish, clouds, and serpents. Some are broken, others seem freshly molded. You get the sense that each has a name, a history. Maybe even a personality. He kneels slowly and places the bowl at the altar's center. You do the same, though you have nothing to offer. Still, he nods, as if what you've brought, the stillness of your breath, the weight of your attention, is enough. Historically, Mayan shamans acted as intermediaries between the people and the gods, and their rituals often involved offerings of blood or precious goods. But fringe researchers have speculated that during especially desperate droughts, the rituals sometimes included more symbolic acts, like cracking open fruits that resembled hearts, or breaking pottery in place of bones. No one's completely sure. The jungle swallows secrets well. The shaman begins to chant, not loudly, not theatrically. His voice is low, scratchy, and warm, like water trickling over gravel. You can't make out the words, but the cadence lulls you. You start to sway a little without meaning to. You're not alone either. Around the clearing, more figures have joined. Some stand with eyes closed, others kneel with palms pressed to the wet ground. It's like watching a symphony of stillness. The shaman's voice rises slightly, still gentle, but layered now with tones you swear weren't there before. It sounds like two voices at once, one high and one deep. Maybe it's a trick of the echo. Maybe not. Historians still argue whether Mayan chants had coded tonal structures aligned with astronomical cycles, or whether that's just the wishful thinking of modern math nerds. Regardless, you feel it. In your chest. In your spine. In the softest part of your ribcage. His chant doesn't demand rain, it invites it, like calling an old friend home. Then he stops. Just stops. The silence is sudden, vast. You hold your breath without realizing it. The shaman turns slowly, points to the fire behind you, and nods once more. Time for the drums. The first drumbeat comes like a heartbeat you forgot you had, deep, slow, and grounding. It doesn't startle you, not exactly, but it shifts the rhythm of everything. The frogs pause mid-croak. The insects fall quiet for a beat. Even the rain seems to notice. The drummer is a young man, shirtless, his torso streaked with ochre. He kneels before a log drum as wide as a barrel, its ends carved with jaguar heads. His hands move in smooth, deliberate arcs, not flashy, just full of purpose. Each strike is a soft boom that rolls outward like a ripple in a pond. A second drummer joins, then a third. Their patterns weave together, not quite music, not quite noise. It's a language of rhythm that speaks not to the ears, but to the soles of your feet. You feel each pulse in your heels, your teeth, your chest. You don't know the meaning, but your body seems to. Mayan rain rituals often use percussion to mimic the sound of approaching storms. Some historians believe the drums represented thunder, while others claim the rhythm guided participants into a trance-like state. Fringe theories go further, suggesting the beats mimic the pulse of the earth itself, tapping into an ancient sonic grid. You'd roll your eyes if it didn't feel so real right now. The firelight flickers. Smoke curls up and vanishes into the canopy. The drummers close their eyes, swaying as if caught in the current of the sound they're making. It's not a performance, it's a conversation between skin, wood, and sky. Then, unexpectedly, someone begins to hum. It's a soft, trembling note, fragile, like a glass of water held with wet hands. A woman steps into the firelight, her long braids swinging as she moves. She wears a robe of woven green, with feathers stitched into the sleeves. Her voice joins the drums like rain joining a river. You don't know how long you've been standing there. Time drips away like wax. Your breathing slows to match the pace of the rhythm. Your mind lets go of things it was holding, lists, regrets, random grocery items. This is the power of ritual, not to explain, but to absorb. The woman's humming becomes singing, not in Spanish, not in any language you recognize. Her voice climbs, loops, falls like a leaf. Others join in, a low male chant, a child's whispery tune. The circle begins to move. It's not a dance exactly, it's more like orbiting. Slow steps, side to side, eyes half-lidded. No one leads. No one follows. They just turn. This part of the ritual wasn't written down in codices. It was passed from hand to hand, eye to eye. Elders taught it not through instruction, but through repetition, like learning to ride a bike by watching your cousin fall 10 times and finally not. The drumming shifts again, sharper now, but still soothing. It mimics the distant crackle of lightning, the roll of thunder tumbling over distant hills. It's getting closer, you feel it, not in fear, but in recognition. The sky is listening. You look up, and the moon has vanished behind thick clouds. The rain quickens slightly. Not a downpour, just enough to coat your shoulders, run cool lines down your cheeks, bead along your eyelashes. You don't flinch. You let it happen. You belong to it now. One of the drummers laughs softly, just once, and keeps playing. The sound doesn't break the moment, it adds to it. A reminder that this isn't theater. It's real life, with all its odd little cracks. You take a step closer to the circle. The mud welcomes you. The rain thickens, forming soft beads on your arms and lips. It's not cold, just cool enough to remind you that nature is in charge here. You blink and taste the mineral tang of the water. It's earthy, like limestone and thyme. Smoke continues to curl up from the center fire, but now it mingles with another scent, copal. The shaman returns, holding a clay censer shaped like a jaguar's open mouth. Inside it, smoldering resin sizzles and pops, sending up pungent, citrusy sweet clouds that sting your nose and soothe your bones all at once. Copal resin, once called the blood of the trees, was sacred to the Maya. Used in nearly every major ritual, its scent was believed to feed the gods, especially Chak, the rain bringer. Some researchers suggest it also served a practical purpose, keeping insects at bay during long ceremonies. Others think it helped participants enter meditative states. Historians still debate whether the placement of copal altars followed astronomical alignments or village hierarchies, but tonight, the smoke feels more personal than symbolic. The shaman circles the gathering, censer swinging in smooth arcs. Wherever he goes, people lower their heads slightly. He pauses before you and lets the smoke pass directly over your face. It clings to your hair, your skin. It's warm, but in a way that feels less like fire and more like memory. You breathe it in deeply, and immediately sneeze. The woman beside you chuckles softly and hands you a leaf to dab your nose. It smells like mint and something spicy. You nod thanks, feeling oddly welcomed, even without words. The drumming continues, slower now. Each beat is drawn out, like a yawn stretching into the air. The fire crackles, spitting tiny sparks that vanish before they land. Shadows dance along the stone carvings around the circle, making the figures seem alive, jaguars blinking, serpents writhing, clouds shifting. One of the dancers steps forward, cloaked in a robe of blue and white feathers. A conical headdress towers above his brow, dotted with turquoise stones that shimmer as he moves. His arms rise in deliberate, sweeping motions, like waves cresting and crashing in slow motion. Every gesture means something. Not in a way you can translate, but in the way you understand the word yes even if it's whispered in another language. The dance is hypnotic, so slow it's hard to tell if he's moving or if the world is. His robes brush the wet ground, trailing arcs in the mud. As he turns, others follow. Not perfectly in sync, but in harmony. Like wind through leaves. This isn't choreography. It's offering. Some dances are meant to call rain. Others ask for forgiveness for overharvesting the land. Some just honor Chak's patience. You realize that this might be all of them at once. A fringe theory once suggested that the feather robes worn during these rituals weren't purely for show, but functioned as cloud mimics, symbolic extensions of the storm. Sounds wild, right? But watching these dancers now, robes rippling like vapor trails, it doesn't seem so far-fetched. You crouch low, elbows on your knees, watching as a young girl steps forward with a clay bowl. She pours its contents, something dark and thick, onto a flat rock. The liquid spreads slowly, glistening in the firelight. The dancers move around it, their bare feet avoiding it carefully. Blood? Chocolate? Fermented maize? Hard to tell. All have been used in rain offerings throughout Maya history. And no one's handing out labels. Still, the girl smiles after pouring it, and the others nod with approval. Whatever it was, it mattered. The rain softens again, but doesn't stop. Just a gentle, steady murmur now, like breath. The smoke. The feathers. The slow swirl of people and shadow. You forget the time. You forget your name. You just exist, inside this sacred rhythm. The night deepens, and with it, the movement of the ritual grows slower, heavier, as if time itself has thickened with the rain. The drumming has quieted to a low murmur, just enough to keep your body swaying gently, like reeds in a river current. Figures glide past you in near silence, their wet robes clinging softly to their skin. They don't dance now. They drift. The rhythm isn't in their feet, it's in their breath. You begin to notice the texture of their garments, intricately embroidered cotton, dyed with indigo and cochineal, feathers woven into the hems, beads stitched into swirling patterns. One man wears a cape lined with obsidian shards that shimmer like trapped lightning. A woman brushes past you. Her hair is thick and dark, pulled into loops that bounce with each step. Her face is calm, focused, but not stern. Her arm is painted with swirls of blue, her fingers stained with something crimson. In her hand is a bundle of maize husks tied with a red cord. She walks to the altar and lays the husks beside the bowl of offerings, then turns back into the slow swirl of movement. You're not sure what it means, but it feels important. Feathers rustle. A robe flutters. There's a brief pause in the chant. And suddenly, the shaman raises both arms. Everyone stops. Stillness takes hold, not awkward, not empty. It's filled with presence, the kind that makes the hairs on your neck rise. The fire crackles. The rain patters. Someone breathes in and holds it. Then, in perfect unison, a low, rolling chant begins again. It's quieter than before, just a hum that vibrates deep in the chest. The kind of sound you feel before you hear. And from the shadows, they emerge, the feathered dancers. 2 of them. Tall. Robed in thick, damp feathers, one in shimmering green, the other a mix of deep storm gray and copper. They walk in slow, mirrored steps toward the center. Their faces are hidden behind carved wooden masks, shaped like jaguar snarls and bird beaks. This is the climax of the ritual. The dance of balance. The 2 dancers circle the altar, their arms outstretched like wings, barely touching the ground with their feet. Their movements are identical, but not synchronized, like wind and water moving in the same direction, but not at the same pace. They never look at each other, yet they seem connected by some invisible thread. The Mayans believed in duality, rain and drought, day and night, life and death. This dance isn't a plea for rain. It's a reminder, balance must be honored for the world to stay whole. You're watching that idea come alive. A mainstream theory holds that this portion of the ritual represented Chak's 4 aspects, his presence at the north, south, east, and west. The dancer's path forms a cross, a symbol seen again and again in ancient Mayan codices. But there's a fringe theory, too, one that claims the dancers represented rival deities, locked in eternal negotiation for the skies. A cosmic debate with no winner. You lean slightly forward, watching the green-robed dancer pivot gracefully on one foot. A feather loosens and drifts downward, landing near your knee. You don't touch it. It feels like it belongs to the moment, not to you. Then something subtle shifts. The drummers return, not loud, but faster. The rhythm picks up, like a heartbeat after holding your breath too long. The rain grows louder, too, not heavier, just more insistent. It taps against the leaves with purpose now. The two dancers stop mid-step, facing opposite directions. One raises their arms. The other bows low. And then, silence. No drums. No voices. Just rain. You feel your chest tighten a little. What happens now? The shaman steps forward. Slowly. Deliberately. He places a stone vessel at the dancer's feet. It steams faintly, as if warmed from within. You hear a hiss, the softest sigh of something mixing, releasing, transforming. You don't know what was inside. Water? Herbs? Spirits? But the smell drifts your way, and it's calming. Earthy, like wet cedar and honeyed smoke. And just like that, the dancers step back into the shadows. The chant fades. The fire dims. The moment has passed. But its echo lingers in your breath. You shift slightly on your heels, blinking at the dimming fire as the dancers disappear into the edges of the circle. It's not over, but it's changed. The energy is lower now, more grounded. Like exhaling after a long-held breath. The air feels heavier, but not in a bad way. More like it's filled, with intention, with memory, maybe even with the faintest flicker of rain god approval. The shaman returns to the center, and this time, he gestures for everyone to come forward. Not to crowd, but to offer. One by one, they step toward the altar, children, elders, mothers balancing sleeping infants on their backs. Each person lays something down: cacao beans, woven cloth, tiny corn dolls, jade beads, bundles of feathers, carved stones. One man offers a simple gourd of water. No one speaks. No one needs to. You're not sure what to give. You reach into your pocket and find nothing but a leaf you'd picked up earlier without thinking, a soft green sprig with raindrops still clinging to its veins. You place it gently on the edge of the altar. It feels like enough. The Mayans offered Chak a variety of gifts. While bloodletting was common for kings and priests, everyday villagers made humble offerings: cacao, maize, and symbols of fertility. Some scholars suggest the true value of an offering came not from its material worth but from the sincerity of the act. Others argue that gift-giving was strategically political, a way for rulers to assert divine favor. As always, historians debate. But tonight, you feel sincerity humming all around you. The shaman circles the altar once more, murmuring a final chant. He dips a bundle of herbs into the steaming bowl and flicks droplets onto the crowd. A few land on your skin. They're warm. You smell citrus, smoke, and something herbal, like sage or crushed leaves after a storm. A murmur rises, not speech, not chant, but a soft collective breath. The people begin to move again, but not in dance. They walk toward the edge of the clearing and disappear into the jungle in pairs, in silence. And now, you hear something new. Water. Not just the patter of rain, but the deep echo of it falling, somewhere. You follow the sound, heart beating just slightly faster. It leads you to a rocky path, slippery with moss and clay. The path slopes down, disappearing between two high walls of limestone. You hesitate, but curiosity wins. Carefully, you descend. The sound grows louder. The air turns cooler, wetter. And then you see it, a wide opening in the rock, yawning like a breathless mouth. A cenote. You've heard of these, limestone sinkholes filled with fresh water, considered sacred portals to the underworld by the Maya. Chak was said to dwell here, in the echoing chambers beneath the earth, where water pooled and the spirit world brushed against the living. You peer inside. It's dim, lit only by a few flickering torches wedged into cracks. The surface of the water is smooth, like obsidian. The sound you heard isn't from above, it's from droplets falling from the cave ceiling, echoing into the stillness below. The sound is oddly musical. Soft. Calming. Like the world whispering to itself. You step closer. Other figures sit cross-legged near the water, heads bowed. One hums a low note that seems to resonate with the dripping rhythm. This is the second half of the ritual. The listening part. The Mayans didn't just ask the gods for rain, they listened for answers. In cenotes, they believed they could hear the voices of the spirits. Some historians think these echoes were interpreted as prophecies or divine signs. Others believe they were just a form of guided meditation, a way to still the mind and commune with the unknown. And then there are the fringe folks, those who insist that cenotes held unique acoustic properties that amplified brain waves. You don't know about brain waves. But you know that this sound, the echoing drip, the low hum, the hush of breath, is doing something to your thoughts. Slowing them. Softening them. You sit. You listen. A drop falls. Then another. And another. Each one, a heartbeat in the dark. You sit cross-legged near the cenote's lip, the cool stone pressing against your ankles. The echoes of water droplets fall in irregular rhythms now, like jazz written by rain. Each splash sends tiny ripples across the dark surface, turning the cenote into a living drum. No one speaks. No one moves. You become aware of your own breath again, slow, quieter now. It syncs with the sounds. You feel your spine lengthen, your shoulders drop. The air in here is thick with minerals and memory. From across the chamber, a voice begins to chant again, soft, steady, nasal. A woman's voice, probably. She sings not to the people, but to the space itself. Her tone wraps around the stalactites and settles in the corners of the cavern. It doesn't ask for anything. It acknowledges. The Mayans believed these underground pools were entrances to Xibalba, the underworld, but not in a scary, fire and pitchfork way. It was a place of transition, of testing, of reflection. Some cenotes were used for sacrifice, yes, but others were temples of listening. Historians still argue whether this ritual was purely ceremonial or part of a larger cosmological calendar. Fringe theories even propose that cenote acoustics influenced Mayan language patterns. You try to stay skeptical, but it's hard when your entire body feels like it's being tuned like an instrument. A small group near the water's edge begins a new activity. Each person picks up a smooth river stone, holds it to their forehead, then gently places it into the water. The stones don't sink immediately, they float for a moment, coated with surface tension, before gliding down into the depths. You're handed a stone by a young boy with wide, serious eyes. He doesn't explain. He doesn't need to. You press it to your forehead. It's cool and slick. You close your eyes and let it rest there, just for a few seconds. Then you rise, walk to the edge, and release it. It floats briefly, spins slowly, and sinks. You don't know what it meant. You don't care. It felt right. Around you, the chamber hums with low voices, like distant bees. No words, just sounds. Some people sway gently, others sit still as statues. One woman dips her fingers into the water and draws a spiral on the stone floor. It glows briefly in the torchlight, then vanishes. You hear another drop fall. You swear it lands in perfect rhythm with your heartbeat. The shaman enters the space again. He carries a clay bowl filled with flowers, bright yellow marigolds, vivid against the cavern's darkness. He walks the circle, dropping petals one by one into the water. Each petal makes the tiniest splash, then floats serenely on the surface. The flower offering, you realize, is not for rain, but for memory. Each petal, perhaps, holds a name. A wish. A story. Some researchers believe petals were used to mark transitions during these rituals: birth, death, harvest, forgiveness. Others think they were simply beautiful, and beauty itself was offering enough. One especially poetic fringe theory claims marigold petals guided spirits home by scent alone. The shaman pauses by you. He hands you a single marigold. Its scent is sharp and clean. You hold it for a moment, then release it into the cenote. It bobs softly, joining the others in a quiet drift toward the center. A final chant begins, not from one voice, but from many. A weaving of tones, low and long. It vibrates in the stone, in your ribs, in the marrow of your legs. You close your eyes and let it wash over you. You don't think. You don't name. You don't resist. You just exist, in this underground cathedral of water and sound. You blink slowly as the chant fades, dissolving into the wet hush of the cavern. The cenote breathes silence again. No one claps. No one bows. The absence of sound feels just as deliberate as everything that came before it. Then you feel a hand on your shoulder. You look up, it's one of the elders, a woman with skin like worn bark and eyes that gleam even in the torchlight. She gestures toward the narrow passage where you entered. The ritual isn't over, it's just changing venues. You rise, joints a little stiff, and follow her. The path upward is slick, winding through limestone ridges. As you step into the night air again, you're met by the jungle's breath, thick with mist and the earthy perfume of damp foliage. Above, the sky is no longer blanketed in clouds. Patches have cleared, revealing sharp stars. The ritual has returned to the sky. Around a large, flat stone platform, people have gathered. They sit or recline, eyes turned upward, wrapped in shawls or damp feathers. A fire still burns, but it's smaller now, low and flickering, not meant to light, only to remind. A man with sharp cheekbones and a jaguar tooth necklace stands near the edge of the platform, pointing to the sky with a carved stick. He traces invisible lines between stars, then taps the stone at his feet, a calendar stone, cracked but still readable. He's a sky watcher. In Mayan culture, sky watchers were more than astronomers, they were translators of the divine. They tracked Venus, predicted eclipses, and aligned temples with solstices. Rituals like this one were often timed not by whim but by the stars. Tonight, you're told, or rather, shown, it's a night of convergence, the Pleiades high, Venus rising, and the moon just brushing into shadow. Historians agree that Mayans were expert astronomers, but they still debate whether specific rituals directly tracked celestial events or were simply inspired by them. One fringe theory claims entire villages were built on star maps. Another insists certain chants mimicked planetary movements. Right now, under this shimmering sky, anything seems possible. The man points again, this time to a streak of light arcing gently above the canopy. A meteor? A firefly? No one gasps. No one speaks. They just watch. The stars pulse. The wind picks up slightly, brushing across your skin like a whispered question. The drummers return, not with their instruments, but with stones. Smooth, flat rocks they tap together gently, producing a faint clacking rhythm that mirrors the star patterns being traced above. Tap. Pause. Tap tap. Pause. Tap. It sounds random, until it doesn't. Your body begins to pick up the code, the pulse. You fall into the rhythm the way you fall into breath. A child beside you looks up at the moon and mouths something, maybe a name, maybe a wish. Her eyes shimmer, and for a second, you think she's glowing. Then you realize it's just the firelight, dancing across her cheek. Another voice rises, a chant, quieter now. It's less of a call and more of a lullaby. You lie back onto the warm stone, letting your head rest against a folded cloth someone hands you. The stars blur slightly, but you don't mind. This part of the ritual is about waiting. Letting the sky speak. The soundscape around you is delicate now, the clack of stones, the hush of wind in the trees, the occasional rustle of leaves as someone shifts position. A frog croaks once, then goes quiet. You feel small, but not in a scary way. Small like a single note in a grand, cosmic song. The skywatcher begins to hum a low note. One by one, others join. You join. It's not a melody. It's a vibration, a drone. Like the background frequency of the earth. Somewhere to your left, someone begins to gently rattle seeds in a gourd. It sounds like rainfall from far away, soft, uneven, real. A memory of water. And in that moment, lying under stars on warm stone, listening to rhythms both ancient and improvised, you understand something without words. The ritual was never about forcing rain. It was always about harmony, between people, sky, earth, and time. You stay on your back, looking up at the stars, the stone beneath you still radiating the day's warmth. The stone feels like an ancient mattress, firm but oddly comforting. The sounds around you have settled into a kind of natural lull, soft rattles, breathy chants, the occasional shuffle of fabric or feather against skin. Then, rising just above the stargazing hum, comes a new sound, frogs. At first, it's just one, deep-throated and throaty, like someone testing a bass note. Then another. Then 10. Soon, the jungle erupts into a froggy symphony that seems far too coordinated to be random. You blink and smile. Apparently, even the amphibians were invited. In Mayan cosmology, frogs were sacred animals, symbols of fertility, transformation, and, of course, rain. Some codices depict frogs as messengers from the underworld, bridging the wet earth with the thirsty sky. Others show them standing on hind legs, mid-croak, as if addressing the heavens directly. Mainstream scholars agree frogs were closely linked to weather patterns. Fringe theorists, however, go a step further. They claim the Mayans used frogs as biological clocks, interpreting the start and intensity of croaks as divine timetables. You wouldn't have believed that hours ago. But now, surrounded by rhythm and breath and sound, it doesn't seem all that wild. A few participants rise quietly from the circle. They walk toward the edge of the platform and begin tapping hollow reeds together, creating a high, clicking rhythm that mimics the frogs' voices. It's eerie, uncanny, but beautiful. A duet between human and amphibian. You wonder, did the frogs learn from the people, or the other way around? A child giggles. Not a loud, disruptive laugh, just a sleepy chuckle at the absurdity of it all. One of the elders gives them a gentle pat on the head and continues to click their reed sticks. Your gaze shifts to the treetops. Fireflies are out now, drifting in lazy arcs, their soft glow pulsing in time with the chant. Are they part of the ritual, too? It feels like everything is. You sit up, just slightly, and notice a man painting something on a flat piece of bark by the firelight. His fingers are stained with red and yellow dye, and he's carefully tracing the outline of a frog beside a spiral. It's not for display, he doesn't even glance up to see if anyone is watching. He paints the way someone hums to themselves, because it feels right. In ancient times, bark paper codices recorded such moments, cycles of seasons, sacred dates, omens, and stories. Only a few survived the centuries, but what remains shows a civilization deeply in tune with its world. Some historians suggest these documents were collaborative, many hands painting layers of meaning. Others argue they were the work of elite scribes. The truth is probably both. The man finishes his frog. He presses his palm over the image once, then sets the bark near the fire to dry. You watch the colors darken slightly in the heat, becoming even more vivid. Another drumbeat. Not loud, just a single, low boom from somewhere deeper in the forest. A call, maybe. A response. A signal that another part of the ritual is beginning elsewhere. Or perhaps it's just thunder, rolling distantly across the mountains. The elders don't react. They're too focused on their breath, their hum, the feel of stone beneath them and stars above. You mirror them. You lie back again, arms by your side, eyes wide open. You listen. You let the frogs sing. You let the sky speak. You wonder how long these people have been doing this, not just this exact ritual, but this way of being, hearing the world, not trying to fix it, just letting it move through them like sound. You breathe out slowly. And the frogs sing louder. It's late now, though the concept of time has grown fuzzy, like mist over water. You wouldn't know if hours had passed or mere minutes. The ritual has no schedule, only rhythms, and they aren't dictated by clocks but by clouds, birds, frogs, and breath. Then, as if on cue, the sky shifts. You don't see lightning, but you feel it, a silent flicker of pressure in the air, as though the atmosphere held its breath. The wind carries a different scent now. Ozone. Wet stone. Rain, not yet fallen but already promised. The people around you stir, not with surprise, but recognition. The elders rise slowly. The drummers return to their instruments. A new rhythm begins, patient, grounded, like footsteps in damp earth. You walk with the others down a narrow path, winding between trees whose leaves glisten with dew. No torches now. Just fireflies and moonlight. The sounds of the frogs follow like an escort. You arrive at a new clearing, smaller, more intimate. In the center is a large, flat rock, carved into the shape of a turtle shell. A shallow depression in its middle has collected rainwater. Around the stone, four large jars sit at each compass point, each decorated with spiral and lightning motifs. This is the water table. You step closer, drawn to its quiet gravity. People gather around it, one by one dipping their hands into the shallow pool, then touching their chest, their forehead, or the earth. It's not about cleansing. It's about remembering. The water in this basin isn't just water. It's rain from earlier that night, mixed with runoff from the jungle canopy, touched by moonlight and chants and centuries of ritual. According to Mayan belief, water was not a static element, it was alive, transformative, constantly in dialogue with gods and ancestors. One theory claims these water tables were symbolic recreations of the world turtle, holding the sky above and the underworld below. Another suggests they were early observational tools, reflecting the stars in their surface, offering both literal and symbolic insight. Historians still debate which is true. But as you kneel and see your face flicker across the surface, those arguments feel distant. You dip your fingers in. The water is warm, not hot, just body temperature. Familiar. You touch your forehead and close your eyes. You remember something. You don't know what. But you do. Nearby, a man begins to speak. Not loudly. Just loud enough to be heard by the closest few. He tells a story, not in Spanish, not in any tongue you know. But the cadence is unmistakable, it's a myth. Even without understanding, you catch pieces. A thirsty mountain. A jealous sun. A frog who could sing to clouds. The crowd listens in stillness, as if they already know the story but need to hear it again anyway. The storyteller finishes, then leans forward and touches the water with his lips. It's symbolic. It always is. You do the same, not to copy, but because something in you says, yes, now. The water tastes faintly metallic, faintly green, and entirely like memory. Then the elders begin to fill the jars, one at a time, with the water from the basin. They pour slowly, reverently. A bit splashes onto the turtle shell and trickles down its carved ridges like veins. These jars, you realize, are part of the offering. Water gathered, blessed, and stored, not kept for use, but to return. Later, they'll pour it at the roots of sacred trees, into cenotes, or across altars. The Mayans believed in reciprocity, you don't just receive rain, you return water. Not in volume, but in gratitude. Someone hands you a small cup carved from a gourd. Inside is a tiny sip of that same water. You drink it. It tastes like stone and smoke and something faintly sweet. You feel still. Not sleepy, not drowsy. Just, still. The drums fade again. The frogs quiet. Even the wind seems to pause. Above you, the clouds begin to open. And the stars shine like drops of water waiting to fall. You stay kneeling by the turtle stone, fingers dripping with the last trace of blessed water, as the ritual around you enters a new kind of silence, not the heavy hush of solemnity, but the spacious, sacred kind. It's as if the air itself is giving everyone room to breathe. A few villagers begin gathering their offerings again, not to take them back, but to repurpose them. Cloth is tied to tree trunks, feathers are set gently in the crooks of branches. Cacao beans are buried in small clusters near the roots of nearby plants. The offerings aren't abandoned, they're integrated. The Mayans didn't believe in throwing things away. There was no away. Everything returned to something. To the earth, to the gods, to the wind. Even the fire wasn't just flame, it was a door. A mouth. A messenger. The shaman returns once more, this time holding a small woven mat. He unrolls it carefully on the turtle stone. On it, small bowls, tiny, hand-carved, each holding something different. Crushed jade dust, dried herbs, bits of shell, and one filled with a thick black paste. He dips a thin twig into the paste and begins to draw, on the stone itself. A spiral first. Then a line that crosses it. Then dots placed with intentional irregularity. Someone leans in and whispers to you, it's a map. Not a map of roads or cities, but of seasons, of rains, of remembered skies. These symbols, they say, help track the soul's position in the larger cycle. You stare as more people begin their own drawings around the stone, using fingers, twigs, and smudged cloth. They're not creating for permanence. Rain will wash it all away soon. That's the point. In modern terms, we might call this ephemeral art. But in the Mayan worldview, it's devotion in motion, beauty meant to vanish, like clouds or music. Scholars still debate whether these drawings held numerical meaning or were spontaneous expressions of cosmic alignment. A few fringe researchers even argue that the spiral dot patterns were mnemonic devices for spoken prayers, a kind of poetic shorthand. You reach for a smooth pebble nearby and press it into a patch of soft earth beside the turtle stone. You leave no mark, just the slightest indentation. It feels like saying thank you without words. A sudden wind stirs the canopy above. Leaves shiver, and a few feathers from earlier rituals lift into the air and spiral upward. Some fall near you, settling like sleepy birds. Then comes the sound. Water. Real rain this time, not just mist or suggestion, but a soft, steady curtain, descending through the treetops like a blessing. Not heavy. Not wild. Just enough. You glance around. No one cheers. No one runs for cover. Instead, they lift their faces and arms to the sky and welcome it. A few close their eyes. Some begin to hum again, not urgently, but with gentle gratitude. You stand and let it fall on you. It slides down your face, collects in the curve of your collarbone, runs along your wrists. The warmth of it surprises you. It's not cold, not shocking. It feels like a long overdue embrace. You remember the frogs? They're singing again, louder now, like a chorus of green approval. The children begin splashing in the puddles, their laughter soft but unfiltered. One starts tapping a rhythm on a hollowed-out log, joining the rain's percussion. And you, well, you don't want to leave. This isn't just a ritual anymore. It's become a space. A state. A frequency you've tuned into. The rain continues, neither intensifying nor fading. Just present. Just perfect. You glance back at the turtle stone, now glistening with rain. The spiral map has begun to run, lines blending softly into one another. Not erasing, transforming. You wonder what your mark looked like. You don't need to check. You know it's part of the story now. The rain doesn't stop. It simply settles into you, like a familiar rhythm you hadn't realized you missed. It coats everything now, the leaves, the stone, the cloth, the backs of your hands, and yet nothing feels ruined. The jungle doesn't repel the water. It welcomes it. You stay near the turtle stone a while longer, tracing slow circles in the shallow puddles forming on its surface. All around you, the ceremony is dissolving, not with urgency, but with softness. Like the final notes of a lullaby. Some people begin to gather water again, not from the jars this time, but from fresh puddles that now form in hollowed stones and woven bowls. They scoop it gently, as if not to disturb the rain's own rest. A few pour it over seedlings in small garden beds nearby. Others dab it onto their faces, muttering words you don't understand but somehow still feel. A woman presses a cloth to the back of your neck. It's soaked, but pleasantly warm, and smells faintly of lime and ash. You let her do it, eyes closing for just a moment. When you open them, she's gone, but the comfort lingers. Then a voice calls out, not loud, but with clarity. The shaman again. He beckons to a cluster of younger villagers, who quickly gather long palm leaves and bundles of reeds. They begin building something, quick, practiced movements that speak of tradition passed down hand to hand. A low canopy forms, stretched between 4 wooden stakes, each etched with spirals and lightning bolts. Under this shelter, they place bowls, feathers, and a few burning coals on a stone slab. You recognize the shape, it's Chak's face, carved directly into the platform. Wide eyes. Grinning fangs. A tongue that curls like smoke. A god not of terror, but of transformation. This is the final altar. It's not about asking anymore, it's about gratitude. A new chant begins, higher and more melodic. The voices rise like mist, hovering just beneath the canopy's curve. It feels less grounded, more celestial. As though the offering is no longer to the clouds, but to something beyond them. The Mayans saw the gods as both near and distant, within the water, but also above the stars. Some rituals, like this one, transition from earth to sky over their course. Scholars suggest this shift reflected the Mayan belief in cyclical reciprocity: rain comes from the sky, is stored in the earth, then returned again upward through ritual. Others theorize it mirrored the movement of the sun and moon through the underworld each night. No theory can quite explain how something so abstract feels so personal, though. The villagers place jade beads in the coals, just a few. They crackle, then begin to glow faintly. A boy steps forward with a conch shell and blows a single, low note that reverberates through the wet leaves. The sound is haunting, beautiful, and deeply ancient. The conch, used for centuries in Mesoamerican rituals, wasn't just an instrument, it was a signal. A message to gods, spirits, sky, and the waiting world. A reminder that the cycle was acknowledged, the offering made, the gratitude spoken. You're handed a small piece of folded cloth. Inside is a pinch of ground cacao and a sliver of dried chili. You place it on your tongue, as the woman who gave it to you does the same. It's bitter. Sharp. Electric. You flinch slightly, then smile. A final awakening. The shaman claps his hands 3 times. Everyone stills. He raises a bowl, filled now with rainwater, and walks once around the altar. The chant continues, but now only as a murmur. He tips the bowl slowly over Chak's face, letting the water trickle down its stone tongue and pool in the carved eyes. The rain eases. Just a little. You realize the sky has begun to glow. Not from lightning. From dawn. Soft, golden blue spreads gently through the clouds, turning wet leaves to silver and the last coils of smoke into glowing ribbons. No one claps. No one says goodbye. They just begin to move, picking up mats, brushing off robes, tending to small fires. You sit perfectly still, letting the light touch your face. This is the end of the ritual. And the beginning of something else. Dawn has slipped into the world like a secret finally spoken. The rain has slowed to a fine mist, brushing gently over your arms and the glistening canopy above. You're no longer soaked, just kissed by moisture, like the jungle itself is patting you on the back for making it through the night. People move with calm purpose now. There's no rush, no chatter, just the quiet rhythm of departure. Someone extinguishes the last of the coals with a ladle of rainwater, releasing a hiss and a swirl of steam that twirls upward like a last breath. The canopy shelter is taken down piece by piece, folded, rolled, stored. Everything returns to its place. Nothing wasted. Nothing left behind. The final act of the ritual isn't about performance or spectacle, it's about care. One by one, participants gather at a low wooden table where small gourds of water are laid out. They drink slowly, without ceremony, as if washing away the remnants of dreaming. You're handed a cup. It's cool, metallic, and somehow sweeter than any water you've tasted before. Someone offers you a small roll of maize cake wrapped in a banana leaf. You accept it, hands damp, fingers numb from stillness and the softness of the dawn. It tastes like earth, warm, faintly smoky, humble. It's not a feast. It's a grounding. The shaman approaches, holding a clay jar etched with spiral patterns. He doesn't say anything, just holds it out. Inside are seeds, bright, round, and many. You take one. Everyone does. This is the final gesture. You walk to a patch of cleared earth. A boy has already drawn a spiral with his toe, marking where the seeds go. You press yours gently into the soil, cover it, and pat it down with the flat of your hand. The message is clear. The ritual doesn't end when the rain falls. It ends when you plant something. Mayan rain rituals were never just about water. They were about continuity, feeding the land so it could feed you, honoring the sky so it wouldn't forget your village, whispering your place in a vast cycle where everything returns. Scholars point to the ritual's alignment with agricultural calendars, to the shifting times of sowing and harvest. Some even suggest each seed planted was metaphorical, a prayer for not just survival, but for wisdom, patience, and memory. And here you are, adding to it. The mist thins as the sun climbs. Birds begin to call, parrots, maybe. Some smaller songbirds, too. The sound is brighter than before, as though nature waited politely for the humans to finish their business before resuming its own. You walk back toward the turtle stone. The spiral drawing is gone, washed away. But the basin still holds water. Someone has placed a single feather in the center. It floats there, still and perfect. You dip your hand in again, this time not to bless, but to remember. The water's surface glimmers with the first rays of sun. The elder woman from earlier appears beside you. She looks up, then points gently to a clearing through the trees. You see it, a narrow path winding back toward the edge of the village. Home. Or wherever that is for you now. You nod. She nods back. No words are needed. You follow the path, each step sinking slightly into damp, forgiving soil. The smell of smoke and wet leaves trails behind you. And even as you walk away from the ritual space, the rhythm stays with you, the drumbeat, the chant, the frogs, the rain. Your body remembers. So does the earth beneath your feet. You don't know when you'll return, if ever. But something in you already has. And it's not leaving. The jungle opens gradually as you continue along the winding path, and the thick canopy thins to let in more of the early light. The air smells brighter now, no longer heavy with incense or wet leaves, but sharp with citrus blossoms and morning dew. A bird chirps overhead, and you realize the frogs have gone quiet, like a curtain falling at the end of a play. You pass small garden plots, carefully tended rows of maize and squash, their leaves wet with the same rain you stood beneath hours earlier. A woman stoops to pull weeds, humming softly. She doesn't look up. She's part of the rhythm now, too. There's a warmth in your chest, not fire, not adrenaline. Something quieter. Like a pot slowly coming to a simmer. You don't feel euphoric. You feel real. Grounded. As if every cell in your body has been retuned to a different frequency, one that hums with rain, stone, fire, and time. Up ahead, a small structure appears, modest, circular, its thatched roof steaming gently in the sun. A boy waves you over. Inside, a fire pit smolders and stone benches are arranged around it. It's not part of the ceremony. It's the recovery room. You step in. A warm cloth is pressed into your hands. A cup of roasted maize drink, pinal, maybe, is offered. It tastes of charcoal and cinnamon, grounding and slightly sweet. You sip slowly, surrounded by silence and strangers who feel like old friends. One man wipes rainwater from his arms and chuckles softly, muttering something about Chak's timing. Another gently combs water from his daughter's hair. No one talks about the ritual. They just are. The experience rests between everyone, unspoken but shared. A girl points to the wall behind you. On it is a painting, crude, maybe centuries old. It shows a figure standing beneath a storm, arms raised, a swirl of feathers around their head. But they're not pleading. They're listening. You recognize the stance instantly. You saw it earlier. You felt it in your spine. This is what survives. Not the moment, but the memory of how it made people move. Scholars sometimes dismiss rituals as superstitions. Others exalt them as art. Fringe thinkers stretch meanings into metaphors and symbols, weaving cosmic maps from modest details. But none of that really matters. Because you were there. And now, the ritual lives inside you, not as data, not as drama, but as rhythm. You step out of the shelter and feel the last mist of rain leave your skin. The sky is now fully blue, with only a few clouds drifting lazily above. The leaves sparkle like polished coins. The earth steams beneath your feet. Someone walks past you, carrying a basket of maize and a folded cloth bundle. They nod. You nod back. That's enough. You don't look back toward the cenote, or the turtle stone, or the altar of Chak. You don't need to. Everything from that sacred night is now woven into your step, your breath, your heartbeat. You walk toward whatever comes next. Still humming. Still listening. You follow the dirt path as it meanders between trees and low stone walls, the kind that seem more grown than built. A breeze rises, light but purposeful, rustling the palms above like fingers trailing across a drum. You pause, listening, not for voices, not for chants, but for the final trace of the ritual in the soundscape around you. And there it is. A drop of water falling from a leaf. A frog's delayed croak in the underbrush. A rustle from something unseen just off the trail. Every sound feels like a continuation of the offering. You pass through a narrow stone arch, half covered in moss. It marks the edge of the ceremonial space, a boundary not for keeping people out, but for reminding them they're returning changed. On the other side, a small garden bursts with wildflowers, orange and yellow, like miniature suns blooming after the rain. Several villagers sit here, weaving palm leaves into mats and baskets. One of them hums, just a single note, long and low. Another picks it up. You recognize the rhythm. It's the same one the shaman began with, hours ago, when the fire was first lit and the drums were silent. It's looping now. Cyclic. You sit on a smooth stone and close your eyes. For the first time in a long while, you don't feel the need to think ahead. Or remember behind. You're just here. In this body. On this earth. Someone places a flower in your hand. You don't open your eyes, but you smile. You don't need to see it to know it's marigold, bright and sharp, full of old sunlight. In the distance, a drum sounds once, just once, and then fades. The villagers begin to disperse. Quiet waves, soft smiles. Not goodbye. Just a gentle see you again. You rise slowly and begin walking once more. Not out of habit, but with intention. You're no longer retracing your steps. You're stepping forward, carrying something with you now. Not the exact rituals. Not the chants or the offerings. But something deeper. The stillness. The listening. The rhythm of being present. And the soundscape, the one that began with frogs and ended with sky, is still playing, quietly, beneath your thoughts. You reach a fork in the path. One side curves back toward the village, smoke curling from cook fires. The other winds down toward the river, its surface glowing with new sunlight. You choose one. And with each step, you breathe in this new balance. Between memory and movement. Between the rain and the weight. Between the drum and the silence. The ritual is over. But its echo is yours now. Forever. And now, as the final echoes of the ritual dissolve into morning, your body begins to soften. Your thoughts, once bright and alert, now stretch and unwind, like vines loosening their grip after a long night of growth. There is no more rain, no more rhythm, only the soft hush of dawn easing across the landscape. You imagine lying back beneath the trees again, the stone warm beneath you, the last drops of moisture evaporating into sky. Every sound is quieter now, the birds not yet fully awake, the wind reduced to a whisper against the leaves. Even the frogs are still. You close your eyes. The scent of copal still lingers in your nose, faint and sweet, like the memory of a dream you don't want to forget. The spiral drawn in the mud may be gone, but its shape remains somewhere deeper, in the rhythm of your breath, the gentle weight of your limbs, the steadiness in your chest. Nothing needs to be done. Nothing more needs to be remembered. You are exactly where you need to be. Let the rhythm of the drums fade now, let the fire of the ritual smolder into calm. Let the voice of the jungle become background, a lullaby in a language you don't speak but still understand. The journey is complete. And here, in this place between waking and sleep, between memory and dream, you can finally rest. You are safe. You are grounded. You are home.